what did we see on XRP's price chart? Right up here, there was a major sign that price was going to reverse back to the downside. Well, if we go to the 5-minute chart here and we zoom in, you can see the highest high on the RSI in this uptrend was all the way up here at 81. Now, if we circle where that was on the price chart, it was on this massive run up for XRP. So during this pullback, the relative strength index pulled back as well. And then the price ran up again and the RSI ran up again. Now the price put in a higher high here, whereas the relative strength index put in a lower high. But because the RSI did not top out between 50 and 70, you have to let this play out a little bit further because the price can continue to make higher highs until the RSI fails to reclaim 70. So that's what we started to see. Even with these pullbacks, the price continued to put in another higher high here. But look at the relative strength index on that pullback for the RSI and the higher high in the price chart. The RSI topped out right here at 64. This is what we want to see. It failed to reclaim above 70. So that showed that the bullish momentum to the upside was slowing down, and eventually we're going to see a bearish correction. So then what we start to see after a bearish divergence is done playing out is we see the price break structure, which is a major support. So the support was roughly right around $2.45. Now you could draw it all the way up to this candle body close right here, but it's roughly $2.45. It's not 100% exact. So we go all the way back down here to support. We go below it briefly and we attempt a final recovery rally up here and we fail to reclaim the highest high. So we see this happen a lot, and these are called retracement rallies. This is what Bitcoin right now is doing on the dominance. It basically formed the highest high right here, saw this massive sell-off, and it's now retracing, which is why a lot of people are saying that Bitcoin's dominance is going to break down after this retracement here. So during these retracements, the Goldilocks zone is usually 50% to 60%. Sometimes it can go even higher than that, which is what happened here with this wick. You know, a lot of the times when we see it retrace, it tops out right here and then it rolls around back to the downside. Now, again, it's not cookie cutter. It's not exact every time. As you can see, it wicked all the way up here, but nonetheless, it was a lower high than the high of that rally. And look at the relative strength index. It failed to reclaim above 70 again for the second time. So this was another entry point if you were considering entering into a short or getting out of XRP rather than just listening to people telling you to FOMO buy the peak. And sure enough, what happened? Well, XRP reversed back to the downside. So now that XRP is in this downtrend here, forming lower highs and lower lows, what do we want to look for? Well, the exact opposite of a bearish divergence. We want to look for a bullish divergence. So we want to find the lowest low on the relative strength index, which looks like it's down here at 22. And we can see that the RSI is now putting in higher lows and is starting a potential trend reversal. So the price chart put in lower lows. This is a confirmed bullish divergence here. Higher lows on the RSI, lower lows on the price chart. And now look at what's happening on the price chart right here. It starts to bottom out and show some sign of support in this downtrend. And now we start to get this attempted reversal here. So XRP could make a major move to the upside and the relative strength index could spike up above 70. And then we see some type of sell-off and consolidation up here in this downtrend for XRP. And on the more micro time frames, I would be looking for a bearish divergence right now in this retracement rally for then either a continuation of the downtrend or a much more macro trend reversal. So right now, because we're in a retracement rally right here, the first thing that I would look for is the highest high in the RSI above 70. And we're not seeing that right now, which tells me there's a little more momentum to the upside for XRP in this retracement rally here, which also tells me total 2 has a little bit higher to go in this retracement rally here, ultimately coming in contact potentially with this descending resistance right here or stopping short of it. So it could be another 3% to the upside for total 2, which XRP is included in. And so we'll just have to see where that comes in for XRP because it's been very volatile lately. You see these recovery rallies here. Some of them are smaller than others. Some of them are much bigger than others. So we don't know exactly when it'll top out, but what we look for are the divergences, right? So I'm on the 5-minute chart. I would want to look on the 15-minute chart though for some type of bearish divergence because the 5 minutes a little too volatile. Even the 15-minute, a lot of the times I'm looking on the hourly. But just for the sake of this example here, on this retracement rally, you can see the RSI is at 49 right now. The stochastic RSI is at 97 and 97. So I wouldn't be buying into this rally here because it could easily roll back over to the downside and make another lower low because we still are in a strong downtrend here. What I would do is I would use the hourly chart to determine a bullish divergence, like what happened all the way back here from the 3rd of November all the way to the 5th of November. You can clearly see the price chart making lower lows on the hourly chart, and you can clearly see the relative strength index starting to put in higher lows. And then all of a sudden, you see the RSI bottom out between 30 and 50, and then the price chart starts to put in a higher low right here. While the RSI bottomed out at 43, we see a rally back to the upside in this retracement, and then we see another sell-off back to the downside to put in a higher low on the price chart, and then the relative strength index puts in a higher low. So by this point right here, this is where I'd be more aggressively long in the market, because we've seen the manipulation, fake out rally here out of a downtrend, then a final sell-off, and then we reverse back to the upside for a much bigger bounce. So this is what I want to see. I want to see the manipulation for XRP done. I want to see price action start to look something like this, and that could take a little bit of time to play out, because what we're going through right now just doesn't look good. This isn't showing me signs of strength. This is just showing signs of manipulation and weakness to the downside, where XRP is still in this downtrend here, getting rejected from this descending resistance. Even if we come all the way up to this descending resistance right here, XRP could easily reverse back to the downside, back down to these lows right here, because we're still in a downtrend. A much more macro reversal sign for me would be holding on top of this resistance as support, which is like $2.70. I want to see that take place. Otherwise, XRP is just going to continue to range between resistance and support and do whatever the market makers are going to make XRP do within this range. So it doesn't matter what happens between a resistance and a support. What matters is your ability to identify bullish and bearish divergences applying this strategy. So because the price chart is putting in lower lows and the relative strength index is putting in another lower low, tells me that even with this short-term recovery rally for XRP, it's likely to be met with more selling back to the downside.